Whoa. Funny seeing you around here. It's been forever. It's forever since I last streamed. Anyway, sorry, I ran to the bathroom. But we're ready, we're set up. Wait, we're not actually set up. It's still detecting, it should be detecting that. There you go, you guys can see. Hello, Daniel. I got 2 quotes. Anyone said, wormhole? Anyone said, maybe I'm cuckoo. Maybe it's just that I saw 2 circular objects and went crazy. We missed you for so long. It's been years. Days. Millennia. Centennia. Quintennia. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pathologic Dating Simulator. This is the calm before the naked. The calm before the spice. The calm before everybody rips each other's clothes off. Anyway, we are starting day 3. And let's get into it. Once again, we are hopefully trying to see the romance endings for Block, Maria, and... who else was there? Not the Stomatons. Guys, who else was there? Oops. Oh, the stream wasn't muted on my phone. You might have heard that come through a little bit. Who was it? Guys, who's our peeps? There's the Stomatons, Block, Maria, Eva, right? There was another one. There was someone else I was in. Artemy! How could I forget? How could I forget? We also have Artemy. Anyway, those are our endings, romances we'll be looking into. And then eventually, we will get to Haruspek's route. But for now, we are still on day 3 of Bachelor. This one's the most recent. Oh my god, I forgot the art is so good! The art is so good. I believe we finished with this here. Right, we're on to the next day. I guess I didn't save. How do I skip? Like, enter? Hold enter? Space? I mean, I guess I didn't save at the start of the next day. Good thing I've offended the Stomatons. I don't want to end up with them. There's nothing tying them to the hospital. I need their help, not the other way around. I'll have to apologize. Day 2 has come to an end. Here we go. Day 3! The morning of the new day was even colder than the last. Daniel shuddered and rubbed his rapidly numbing hands together. Despite all of yesterday's reassurances from Artemy that getting medicine and equipment for the hospital would be easy, Daniel was coming to understand the state of these provincial affairs. Expired medicine, outdated antibiotics, bandages no one bothered to boil, to say nothing of the state of the equipment. Is there any chance to remedy the situation? Even during the epidemic, when the need for medicine was especially acute, it was practically impossible to resolve the issue of supplying the local population. Day 3. Oh no, the prices rise tenfold. So what can be done now that everything essentially has already been used and new supplies will take 2 days to arrive? Thanatica may no longer exist, but Daniel still had some connections in the capital. Daniel got out of bed, sat down at his desk, and hastily scribbled a message to his former colleagues, Serafima and Platon? I mean, the devs wouldn't know about them. After waiting for the ink to dry, Daniel slid the letter into an envelope and returned to his thoughts. No one would deliver his letter until he left for the capital himself, but he needed help right now. Daniil spared the letter one more glance and then tore it up in frustration. Perhaps Eva could help in some way. She knew the locals better than he did. He would have to do things the old-fashioned way, asking people to share personal stocks. Assuming they had anything left. But there was no other options. After getting himself ready for the day, Daniil headed downstairs to the dining room. Let me do a quick recap for anybody who, I don't know, in case you forgot. Previously, we're continuing the game based off of Pathologic 2 Dineural ending. So we've cured, the plague has been cured, and there's like 4 or 5 days until a train comes to take Daniil back home. And he's wanting to leave a lasting impression in this town, which is why we're trying to set up a permanent hospital. And Daniil is also a little unsure of what he wants to do for his future. And it seems like each of our dating candidates each has a future of their own they want to progress toward, and it seems like we can go along with one of their things, depending on who we end up dating. Anyway, that's the story so far. Plants fit still water so well. Can anything even grow in the still water besides paper? There's grass in the still water in the one room. Good morning. No, let me do that again. Good morning, dear Daniil. Good morning. Can I offer you some tea? Another time. But I have a question for you. Daniil briefly outlined the issue with the supply shortage at the hospital. There goes the dogs again. Okay, Eva, are we gonna have another talking session of you dissing everybody in town? I swear, she's trying to manipulate me. Last time we spoke to Eva, she was like, so I hate the Stomatans. And I hate Maria. And I hate Artemy. And I hate General Block. It's like, damn, girl. I'm already all yours. No, I'm not. Mold in still water. I tried to change the resolution slightly too when I was originally setting this up to remove the black bars on the top and bottom of the screen, but it was kind of hard to do. And if I could fix it one certain way, but it would mess with the rest of the settings on stream for other future games, and I really didn't want to touch it. So I know that sometimes when I see videos and movies and stuff with the bars on top, my mind eventually phases it out, so I hope it's not a problem. Okay. I read that. Oh, there's not much left after the epidemic, but I'll ask Petrol. She lives with her family across the street. That's funny because in Pathologic 3, she mentions hanging out with her girlfriends, Maria, Lara, and Peter, and Andre Stomaton. Ah yes, all her girlfriends. I saw someone mention the other day that in the original Pathologic, there was kind of like an enemy ship, that's kind of the wrong word, but that's what comes to mind, between Lara and Yulia, which is something I don't know much about. There was something going on between them that apparently Pathologic 2 and 3 never addresses. Like, I believe in those two games, Yulia and Lara probably never even mention each other or interact, but apparently in Classic there was something between the two of them. I didn't even notice until you pointed them out. See, that's exactly the thing. Your mind just spaces those out. I think I need some water. Oh, there's not much left after the epidemic. I read that. Dove is compassionate. She'll surely help. Eva lost herself in thought, absent-mindedly muttering names on occasion, and Daniil decided to leave her to it. Furious X's? It wasn't really even addressed in Pathologic 1 either? Really? Aglaia X Aspity is my type of correct ship. Lara, Anna, and Yulia interact a lot in Classic. I kind of remember them... The only thing I can remember that involved the three of them was when Artemy jumps in his hole. You have to choose one of them to come back to life, kind of. Oh, just in the character portraits, if I remember. It's time to see what Artemy has come up with. Speaking of the man, Daniel fish the charm out of his pocket. Eva, do you know anything about step talismans? What's this one for? I don't know much. It looks like it's for luck, though. Ah, here, see? There's another thread in the middle, holding these two threads in a knot. Details are very important to the step people. So that probably changes the meaning of the charm. But I don't know how exactly. You'd better ask someone else. Well, thank you anyway. Daniel threw on his coat and said his goodbyes and exited the Stillwater. There seems to be a fight happening in the alley. I think I recognize those shabby uniforms. Mutineers. No matter how hard Alexander tries, simply walking these streets is still dangerous. It's hard to feel safe even behind a locked door under the protection of soldiers. They are beating an innocent man. Bastards. What should I do? Why not report to Alexander? Let's do a save. Also, whoa, look at this music. I kind of forget how to save. Is it escape? Yes. They also interacted in Lara wanting to murder Block, but she was more of a... Ooh, I don't know what a gun is, and others tried saving her. Oh, a quest on day 6 Bachelor Route? Or is that day 8? That's day 8. Yeah, we'll find out soon enough. I think I want to see what's going on, so let's not report to Alexander. Call out to the soldiers. Hey, you! Stop! I'll shoot! What are you doing here? Look, it's our esteemed doctor. We're a better shot than you are. Get out of here before your damn general has to collect you piece by piece. Such impudence. They have no shame. They can tell I no longer have my revolver with me, only my fists. Come on, let's show them what happens to those who think too highly of themselves. They're getting dangerously close. I'll have to remember those fights during the epidemic, but any soldier is stronger than even the most seasoned thug. There's no way to retreat. This is foolish, but what else can I do? The man the rebels discarded is standing at my side, but that's at least some help. Uh-oh. This is serious here. I thought we'd figure out what the issue was, but these guys are I don't know what the word is. Aggravated, assaulting me? Stay on the defense. The first blow could not be repelled. He tasted blood in his mouth, his vision going dark. Now he would pay the price for his foolishness. It had been a terrible idea to fight hand-to-hand with people who have been trained to do this. Almost as terrible as coming here in the first place. His fists hurt, but the soldier barely felt a thing. There were no miracles. The soldiers assailed him with blows. The last thing he felt was the hard wood of their rifle butt against his temple. Then the familiar feeling of darkness. Denikovsky! Ah, you've woken up. I was worried about you. It seems I lost consciousness. Has it been long? Fortunately, no. Did you go to the abattoir again? If only they had been butchers. They were your men, Alexander. Logan's men. I thought the mutineers were nearly dealt with. They still think their cause is righteous. They're attacking civilians and soldiers loyal to you. However, I did start it. I have only my recklessness to blame for what happened. I don't blame you for your recklessness. But I do for not taking care of yourself. At all. Why do you care so much about my well-being, General? It shouldn't be any of your concern. The same reason you care about mine. You see, I wouldn't want to lose an ally and a comrade. And please, don't call me by my rank. It's starting to feel offensive. He lets me touch his human side, the one where he's alive and real. How foolish not to accept such a gift. I'm sorry, Alexander. As you can see, I was quite knocked out of my senses. And yes, truly, I am very touched by your attention. It's just that I wouldn't want to distract you from more important things. There aren't many things left here worthy of being called important. Being in this town has been difficult. You are a man from the same world as me. I find myself involuntarily clinging to the thought of you. Oh my god, he loves me already. Clinging to the thought. Oh, how flattering. It even makes my heart ache a little. I hope it isn't just a broken rib. Yes, the feeling is mutual. Why do you think I come to you day after day? We're obsessed with each other. Even if today it wasn't by my will. It's easier with you. It's calmer. I feel as though I'm under the protection of the army. I got my ass handed to me by the army. That was unnecessarily frank. Excuse me. I was hit very hard on the head. It's nothing. Speaking of your head, let me take a look. There's no mirror in here. Don't worry. I used to be a medic. You're very kind. And here I thought you went straight into artillery. I started from the bottom, as I suppose you did. Not entirely from the bottom, of course. I had an influential mother and father. Yes, they instilled a lot in me. We are always the product of our parents. All our vices and virtues come from them. Alexander gently touched the bruise on Daniil's face. Denkovsky hissed in pain. He found himself overcome by a strange feeling, for which he had no description or explanation. Embarrassment? Guilt? Compassion? Oh my god, the art is always so good, especially these kind of scenes. Logan's men have heavy fists. Allow me. Locke took bandages and a bottle of antiseptic from the drawer. Judging by the symbols, an army sanitary kit, Denkovsky vaguely recalled having seen one like this before. Look at Alexander. He touched the fresh abrasions. Alexander's hands were rough without his gloves. Daniil's thoughts wandered back to the circumstances of their first meeting. How ironic. Are you getting a sense of déjà vu? Alexander dwelled on this for a moment. Ah, that's what you mean. To my shame, last time I left you in the care of the medics. It's quite funny, don't you think? I'm always getting into trouble. You're always coming to the rescue. I'm not a hero, Daniil. It was my men who found you. But you're the one who sent for me, right? Just like back then. Alexander laughed. For a fleeting moment, something other than the ever-present fatigue flashed in his eyes. Affection? Damn it. Am I really that predictable? No, I'm just devilishly perceptive. Devilishly. Yes, well... What was he about to say? Alexander pulled back his collar, took off his greatcoat, and gently placed it on the chair. No matter. My ribs hurt. Those soldiers gave me a good beating. I'd like to escort you to the hospital. I heard you're staying there now. How did you know? News travels fast through this town. Right, don't worry, I'm an excellent doctor. Even a doctor needs the care of another. Are you sure you don't want to stay? It's nothing. Tomorrow is the decisive day. I'll finish with the hospital, and then the train is arriving. They'll patch me up in the capital. Are you so eager to return there? I'm not eager. I'm a wanted criminal there, and here I have nothing to hold on to. Daniel, you called me by my name again. You're avoiding the question. Again. Confess your thoughts. If I told you that a trial awaits me in the capital, would you believe me? And you don't know me. On the contrary, a week was enough to know. You are a good man, Daniel. Silence fell in the tent. Daniel took the gauze soaked with antiseptic from Alexander and applied it to the wound at his temple. Come with me. I need good doctors in my medical unit. Plus an amnesty and a generous allowance would await you upon your return. I'm sorry. Perhaps I really am offering you a guaranteed suicide. No, it's not like that. It just struck me that I might need someone like you to negotiate peace. Wait a minute. A man with a cool head and a skilled orator. Someone who I can... Just wait. Alexander fell silent. I need some time. The train will arrive the day after tomorrow, correct? Correct. A decision like this cannot be made in a split second. Give me the evening to think. Certainly. I'll let you know. I'll be waiting for you. Daniel. Sasha? Where's Sasha from? What's Sasha? Well, I don't want to address him as general. We've ditched the formalities. Thank you, Sasha? I'm gonna save. His name is not Sasha. It's Alexander. Where does Sasha come from? Alexander looked flustered. Short for Alexander? Is it really? It's all very unexpected. He offered me more than just becoming a part of his platoon. He offered me hope. See, I'm curious about Alexander, but I think I'd want Daniel to end up with Maria. I'm also curious about Artemy. I'm more curious about Artemy. Here's my ranking. I would like for Daniel to end up with Maria, but I'm curious about Artemy, and then I'm secondary curious about Alexander. Alexander. Alex Sasha. I see. So is Alex Sasha how you would say Alexander in Russian? Because in that, I see. Diminutive. If you guys were playing this, if you guys were playing Bachelorette, who are you choosing? I'm doing this out of curiosity. I'm not really interested in any of these people, but I think it's fun. Denkovsky stood in the middle of the street, recalling his plan of action for the day. Who knew how long he could have stood there for? If it weren't for one thing, a silhouette approaching him. Unmistakably a kind, black hair, intelligent eyes, and a long, tapering face with a firm chin. With just a glance, Daniil already knew it was the young heir. Oh, Khan! We haven't seen Khan yet. That's odd. I thought we had seen all the characters by now. At least all the ones who would appear in the Bachelor route. Hi, Khan. Good afternoon, Bachelor. Although, it depends on how you look at it, of course. Ah, good afternoon. Has something happened? Maria's the closest to who I would want. I don't think my real picks are on the table. Alex Sasha is not the case in Russian. Vlad Jr. My sister wants to see you in the Crucible. She said the sooner, the better. She wasn't feeling well yesterday. I can't remember her ever feeling well. Good luck, Bachelor. The gloomy teenager slunk away in the opposite direction as quickly and quietly as he appeared. For real, this game is keeping the trend of having Khan have 2 minutes of screen time. Signing, Daniel just shrugged his soldiers. So be it. To Maria he would go. He had a strange premonition, especially given what had happened yesterday. It seemed that Maria would not leave him so easily now. And to be honest, he wasn't sure whether to be pleased or vexed. Right, Maria got like possessed by her mother and she told me to fuck off. Several degrees of diminutives over the centuries. Sasha, Sashura, Shura, Shurik. Also used for Alexander, less commonly than Sasha. The journey to the stone yard passed silently. No one rushed to him crying for help. No children dragged a black cat across his path. My real picks would be Yulia and Katerina. No one's mentioning Boulder? No one wants Boulder? I want Boulder. Boulder's my man. Maria was already waiting for him next to the mansion, wrapped in her shawl. Even from afar, it was difficult not to notice the lady in her red dress. He was instantly reminded of the previous day's incident. Her eyes filled with unearthly rage, her words etched into his subconscious. As if on cue, even his cheek, which yesterday had felt the touch of her delicate claws, began to sting. Daniel Gaga? Was that the Odong from the very beginning? Was that Gaga? I remember a Gaga, but very faintly. Daniel instinctively rubbed at it, dispelling the apparition. Something is scraped in his chest. He must be more afraid for Maria's condition than he thought, so he quickened his stride and very soon took his place by her side. Thankfully, the lady's face seemed calm and at ease. And again, before he said anything, Maria spoke first. Yesterday, you smelled of sea salt, cinnamon, and alcohol. Today, you smell of uncertainty and insomnia. Having difficulties? You're acting strange. We've already discussed this. There are many strange things in this town, and it's strange to keep repeating yourself. Maria adjusted the sleeve of her dress and stared down the street. Children played nearby. A worker with a bag was in a hurry to get somewhere. There were women talking outside of a house. The townspeople were returning to their usual habits, and Daniel let himself sigh, relaxing. I'm glad you're feeling better, Maria. I didn't expect you to be ready to meet with me so soon. Thank you for yesterday. I can't always control it. But I didn't send Caspar after you to discuss my health. Her face suddenly twisted into an arrogant expression, more so than usual. I believe you've heard that my father and uncle are preparing a new project on the other side of the river. I would like to discuss this. I'm listening. Maria extended her hand to him. Daniel offered his elbow, and they, almost out of habit, walked along the stone-paved path. Despite the fact that Simon has made advances in the study of death as a spiritual phenomenon, there is still no cure for it. I want to be honest with you because I trust you. We need a thanatologist. Embracing his offered arm, she ran her fingers along the treacherously exposed strip of skin between the edge of his sleeve and glove. The soft pad of her fingers barely brushed him, but Daniel was utterly immersed in her touch, feeling a wave of goosebumps spread all the way to the top of his head. Which was unusual. It was more than a touch, like this should give. Wait. Which was unusual. It was more than a touch like this should give. We will need you. I will need you. That's flattering. He had notes, diagrams, drawings. Georgi was the closest to Simon, and yet even he cannot decipher them. You can be relied upon, and I'm certain you're the one who can figure them out. In any case, what my uncle called the focus truly exists in the material world. If that's not the key to understanding death, to maintaining the spirit outside of its physical shell, then I don't know what is. And neither does anyone else. It all comes down to time. With no time, there will be no death, I think. Victor understands this well. That's why there are so many clocks in the town, right? But there's no cure for time. Sometimes, and see here, there is also about time. Sometimes it seems to me that humanity cannot win. Maria slowed down for a moment and looked somewhere ahead. It seemed to Daniil that her gaze was turned inward, as though she were weighing her answer, as though that answer had a tangible presence. Or, time is a vessel. By placing yourself inside it, you can escape inevitability. You would become an outside observer, watching raindrops slide down a window into the abyss. And the only thing you can do from your side is accelerate their fall. Daniil. She looked into his eyes, forcing him to stop with an imperious but elegant movement, even though there was no need for it. I assume you guys can't hear that? There's a car alarm going off outside my house. They used to call it metempsychosis, but that answer is very complicated. Shall I keep going? Oop, it stopped. Her palms moved to rest on Daniil's cheeks, and before she said anything, the gentle motion of her fingers seemed to penetrate his consciousness, leaving only watercolor impressions before his eyes. Denkovsky closed his lids, submitting to the sensation. For a moment, he felt like a puppet, and immediately tensed up, opening his eyes wide and furrowing his brow. He was uncomfortable with losing control, being led, but with Maria, it felt different. In the new town, death will be defeated by extraordinary people. I will see this through. At that, they resumed their walk. Maria lifted her nose confidently to the tops of the trees and led Denkovsky onward, as if it were not she who held his arm, but he who was holding on to her, to all of her. Man is born from thought and action. I prefer the other one. To err is human. I hope it is not I who will err. And how? How do you imagine it? I hope that by extraordinary, you don't mean something like a minotaur. After everything I've seen here... Maria stopped once more and looked at Daniil inquisitively, demanding. Sparks ignited in her eyes, in her gaze. I'll show you. You will see what I see, and you will understand how different our eyes are. I am almost a mistress, after all. Unless you are afraid. Afraid of what? Consequences. Such visions will not leave a person unchanged. They can be fatal. Yes, I agree. I can't comprehend an ordinary person taking on the creation of the extraordinary. Imagine him... Oh, that's more Latin. God created man in his own image, not the other way around. If it means crossing another boundary, well, that's why I'm here. Whoa! Maria's lips were as chill as the autumn, but she smelled of summer, the kind of summer Denkovsky had never lived through. He felt her hands touching the back of his head, brushing his ears, her fingers slowly stroking his hair in a smoothing gesture. He inhaled in one town and exhaled in another. Houses and streets vanished, along with the women sitting nearby. The noise from the playground died down, only the sensation of her kiss lingered, but it too soon disappeared. Birds on the branches of mighty trees sang in a chorus of different voices. His ears were ringing from the unfamiliar sounds. Daniil awakened in some kind of a park, more akin to a nature reserve. He took a couple steps, at first tentative, and then a few more with confidence. In front of him rose houses of the most bizarre shapes. At a single glance, it was clear that their function was peculiar. He halted at a building that looked like a piece of stained glass, woven from hundreds of iridescent-colored fragments, joined together into a single canvas by ornate rods of forged metal. Traversing behind one of the fractals in this iridescent wall, Daniel suddenly found himself in an echoing room that flowed upwards. In the middle stood a single carved bench. The rays of dim light penetrating the glass tumbled in an odd dance on its reflective surface. Dankovsky felt like he had become part of a kaleidoscope. It was almost dark, hollow, but it was not frightening, and neither was it cold. Fascinated, Daniel sat down. In the same moment, a slim hand with long, thin fingers touched his shoulder. Her skin smelled like ripe cherries and stardust. Has it gone this far? Why, look at you, my girl. Daniel blinked, reorganizing his feelings, his memories, his thoughts. Maria's voice didn't sound the same as before. It was deeper, more velvety. But no matter how close he looked, he saw Maria. The black smoothness of her hair, her lithe figure, the silks billowing with the breath of ancient myths. Maria. Just you dare. I warned you. You shouldn't have gone to her, and yet here you are. Reckless. Oh, perhaps I was incorrect. Maria, a learned man, bachelor, and yet you cannot understand. It's dangerous to confuse those who are able to destroy you with a glance. Even if our blood is one, and she is flesh of my flesh. Dankovsky swallowed. However, I understand why you see us as one and the same, why you perceive us as inseparable. Soon, this illusion will end. Oh my god, I love this Nina nonsense. The Nina nonsense. I love it. Maria taking the lead. Honestly, I wish this was a plot point that the games actually explored. Nina coming between Maria. But I guess that happens with Victor, huh? There's no reason for Nina to be doing things with Victor and Maria. Soon this illusion will end. In the meantime, look inside yourself, bachelor. What do you see? Do you see the answer to the question that our town will ask? Do you see the answer to the question that my daughter will ask? She stirred a dark matter into the air, and with a movement of her hands, guided it upwards, toward the top of the building. In the rays of reflected shadow, in the midst of a crossroad of mirrors, a new town grew in front of Daniil. From the new town emerged people, and from the people emerged the town. And in their shimmering visage rumbled a roiling force beyond the comprehension of the common mind. It was there, as real as the flow of time through fingers, as real as a palm stretched out toward the future, as real as the touch of cool lips and the thrill of a summer wind whipping through a field of grain. See? Here I am alive. Simon is alive. The kinds have managed to preserve the impressions of souls, as if they were samples of some kind of bacteria. There is no death, bachelor. Love is always stronger, for one's own daughter, or for a cause. For a town, or a living being. After all, the town is a living creature, truly alive, more alive than any clay monster from the steppe. And it is here, it exists, and someday it will be. With you, or without you. A miracle is only a miracle when there is someone to believe in it. She was born for miracles. This is the place for her love. Don't take her heart with you. It all ended as abruptly as it began. Aromas and sensations disappeared and were replaced by others. Daniel could barely stand on his feet, leaning his back against the wall of the first house he came across. Maria watched him with concern. Oh my god, I love that. I didn't think the storytelling was gonna get that good. Honestly. That was really good. I really enjoyed that. She's doing more than that. This is pretty much assault of him. I understand. The unattainable opened up before me, and I saw the mistress. Maria's cheeks were flushed, but she hardly looked embarrassed, as though kissing were commonplace for her. I knew that everything would work out for you. How do you feel? Shocked and lost. You were right. It's impossible to remain unchanged. I feel as though I can scarcely breathe properly. Yes, it was not for nothing that I spoke of the consequences. These visions are difficult, even for me sometimes. I admire the fortitude with which you endure them, especially now. This is my duty as a future mistress, but that doesn't matter. What's more important is, what did you manage to glean? Was it truly anything at all? Daniil rubbed at his eyes. From the first moment of his arrival, the town on Gorkin had surprised him. Since then, the metropolitan bachelor continued to be surprised day after day, each time believing that it could not happen again. Maria, usually when I do this, people die. Commit to Maria route, we're gonna rule the world. Honestly, I am interested in the Maria route. This is also intriguing. It was impressive, sometimes in a good way, sometimes bad, and it generated some scientific interest. For how long would this place still be capable of such feats? Maria could sense it. She looked happily, her bewitching eyes lit from within. Now you know what I mean when I talk about another town, about our utopia. Isn't our town magnificent? Isn't it marvelous? Isn't it magical? If only all towns were like this. For a second, she seemed like a girl entertaining the fantasy of flying ships. Wishing to conquer distant planets, rushing through the thorns to the stars, per aspera ad astra. Still, feeling the dance of color from the vision and the whisper of space on her eyelashes, Daniil could admit, these aspirations were contagious. The only question was it worth succumbing to such a contagion? Now or never. Will I or won't I? Loves me not. Is this the decision? Oh my, is this the decision? Am I locking it in? Am I locking in Maria route? Because I think I'm going to. After that experience, after our kiss, I feel like I gotta. I want to witness the birth of this town. Maria's smile was more familiar now, tinged with a hint of self-satisfaction. You are wonderful, Daniil. I say this without a hint of irony. And the two of us do seem to benefit from a walk in fresh air. Look how compliant you are becoming. Penkovsky rolled his eyes, hiding a wave of emotion behind feigned indifference. Maria interpreted this in her favor and smiled smugly, barely visible. On this occasion, she didn't need to be escorted home. Maria claimed she still had things to do. Before leaving, she held out her hand to Daniil, unequivocally requesting a kiss goodbye. Kiss her hand. Daniil, remembering common etiquette, effortlessly took her slender hand in his fingers, brushing her knuckles with his lips. Maria's skin seemed intoxicating to him, as though made from a heady potion, more potent than Twyrene. For a heartbeat, Daniel had the desire to drown in the sensation of her skin, pressing his face against it indiscriminately. But he quickly dismissed this, gallantly retreating and letting go of the lady's hand. Maria's face was full of satisfaction, her lips curved in a barely restrained smile. She clearly did not want to be overly enthused at the compliance of an... She clearly did not want to be overly enthused at the compliance of the unruly capital serpent, but she could hardly resist. In order to keep her emotions in check, the lady quickly left her companion. Daniel watched her go until the image of her faded away. Mistress is not just a word in this town, and Maria has already become one. She just hasn't realized it yet. Denkovsky continued on, considering what had happened. Only he was bothered by the prickle of someone else's eyes on the back of his head. It was as though he were being watched. When he turned around, he saw no one. The windows of nearby houses remained empty. Then, Denkovsky, on a whim, raised his head to the sky and recalled the sharp expression of wild Nina. Maybe it was her. Or not? When Daniel passed the crucible, it occurred to him that it would be nice to check in on Victor. This visit was a purely pragmatic one, of course. To enlist support in matters involving the hospital, since it hadn't been possible to do so before. And at the same time, perhaps it would have been possible to learn more about how best to deal with this force of nature, Maria Kaina. Daniil was soon knocking on Victor's door. Fortunately, he was here this time. He greeted his guest with the rustle of one of his many books. On his desk lay a disassembled pocket watch. I think we have seen Victor before, right? This isn't our first time seeing Victor. I think I'm committing to Maria route. I think I love Maria. Venerable Bachelor, I'm glad you were able to visit me. My daughter mentioned you were looking for me the other day. As for your question about the hospital, in her opinion, the location you've chosen is useless. One kiss and the grown-ass man is fully under her heel. The power of true mistress. I mean, how could anybody not fall for Maria? On the other hand, the whole enterprise is very temporary, so there's no need to turn up one's nose. Yes, you're right. She wasn't very favorably disposed toward the building and its location, but today there are no particular objections. This is your doing, I take it. I just reminded her that there's no need to spend so much effort here if our future is on the other side of the river. Any location you have presently found for yourself will be amenable. Eventually, if needed, the hospital can expand into a complex, so long as there are patients to treat. And someone to treat them. Victor paused and placed the book, which up to this point he had been holding, onto the table. He perched carefully on the edge. So, you still wish to leave us? Frankly, I'm full of doubts, but I have obligations in the capital that I cannot simply abandon. Has Maria told you how much we need you here? She has? Then I suppose you will think everything over again before you get on the train. Denkovsky only nodded his agreement, trying not to look his interlocutor in the eye. He was not ashamed of his choice. He just didn't want Victor to accidentally read something specific in his eyes. Something he wouldn't want revealed now, especially not to Maria's father. Speaking of Maria, I had happened to witness one of her seizures. I saw quite a lot. How serious is it? The power of the mistress is a heavy but joyful burden. It will remain dangerous until its full bloom. It transforms people, somewhere at the very core of consciousness, giving life to the dead, and to the living, it gives their apotheosis. Supernatural powers, one might say. The price for this may appear high. but in essence it pales in comparison to the opportunities it ultimately gives. Daniel stood deep in thought. The kinds never laid out the core of their beliefs directly. He usually had to swim in a sea of their allegories, with a rare exception. Are you saying this gift can be fatal? Ah, I thought that during your stay in our town, you'd have already gathered all the nuances of this concept. It is the soul that is immortal. The venerable Simon was able to prove this rather reliably. His presence is felt in every stone of these buildings, as well as the presence of your late wife. Daniil paused nervously, realizing he might have overstepped, but Victor only raised his head to the ceiling and smiled wearily. Preserving the memory of my otherworldly wife is my top priority. I am glad to know that my efforts in this field are justified. They say that women like her are terrible, uncontrollable, and unbearable. This is a lie. Love, a miracle available to any feeling person, can make one achieve the unthinkable. I have never understood anyone as much as Nina, and I'm sure someone will understand Maria just as much. She is strong, and when she is due by her blood right, will not become her doom. Nope, she is strong, and what she is due by her blood right will not become her doom. The town she builds will be the beginning of a new era. We will become the bricks of its foundation. Victor spoke so confidently that Daniil's heart was overcome with determination. His fear for Maria receded. The vision of today's walk replayed before his eyes in all of its splendor. Daniil allowed himself a slight smile. The air smelled of cinnamon. When he had mentioned the hospital, Daniil had received a casual affirmative answer, as if it had already been decided. But there was no reason to doubt the diligence of the kinds. Therefore, having said goodbye, Daniil left the building placated. Maria wasn't the only one whose inspiration was contagious. It seemed to be a common trait among all kinds. Daniil, for the first time, let himself walk around the town for the sole purpose of clearing his mind. He only briefly returned to thoughts of Maria before all else consumed his mind. I still can't understand what lies behind Maria's gentle smile and confident gaze. Did I get closer to her, or is this another manipulation, particularly to the Kind family? But I was truly able to touch a miracle thanks to her. Not everyone is given this chance. The plague had shaken the balance of the town. Okay, we've checked in with two, kind of three of our candidates. So what's left for today? We got to see Artemy, probably the Stomatons again, and then maybe I'll go back home to Eva. Was it possible to return to a normal life, or would it remain forever shattered? To think, people are no longer dying by the hundreds, and yet it's still such an ordeal to arrange a hospital that can help those in need. There is no order here. The town is like a wild beast. It bites the hand that feeds it. I need to be alone, to unwind. This pessimism must stem from fatigue. Thoughts about the hospital caught up to Daniil, and his legs led him to Sunset Street. Daniil post-kiss. Is she flirting or just being nice? Or is he being manipulated? Everyone in this goddamn town is flirting with this man, and he doesn't even realize. He truly is a bachelor. From afar, he noticed a slender, feminine figure hesitantly standing on the threshold. Eva? She glanced from one window to another, as though looking for someone inside. At first glance, Daniil mistook her for one of the herb brides. But what seemed to be a torn dress from a distance turned out to be a familiar, if bizarre, outfit. Eva! Dear Daniil! I was looking for you. In ease, your shadow suddenly flashed through the window. You are more likely to catch my shadow in the streets. I haven't even had the time to unpack. You've at least saved me the trouble of transporting my things. A kind word opens many doors, and a polite request is rarely refused. It would have taken me days to do it on my own. A strong gust of wind blew a whirl of leaves over the cobblestones, billowing in the hems of his coat. Eva, dressed lightly, shivered from the cold. I spent the morning after you left trying to imagine your new place. Sunset Street is the place where the marble nest yeah, this is exactly that. I believe Sunset Street in this game is a section of the atrium. But this is literally Marble Nest House. I hope you like it. The lodgings suit me. For a temporary shelter, it's quite convenient. It's a pity you left the Stillwater. It's too empty without you. Unfortunately, I'm gonna try to be a little rude to Eva because I don't want to go down the Eva route. You'll have to get used to it. Not to progress is to regress. There is nothing worse than stagnation. Stagnation turns any still water into a swamp. Perhaps it's my fault the place has become so neglected. Eva's voice faded, along with the color in her cheeks. Allowed to ferment, to become covered with a stinking film. That's why I'm so drawn to the sky. Only my wings have been bogged down. Or maybe I've been a wingless bird since birth. Eva muttered the last sentence almost inaudibly. The wind hummed in the storm pipes. Eva rubbed her bare shoulders with her reddened palms. She asked hesitantly, almost a plea. Would you let me impose my company on you a little longer? We could talk while there's still a chance. Why don't we warm up? You're freezing. Eva shook her head, looking serious. Don't pay attention to my red hands and feet. I'm warmed not by my clothes, but by my thoughts. So much so that even they make me feel hot. What are you talking about? Do you have a fever? Eva smiled, shaking her head again. Oh, how hard can it be to turn thoughts into words, my dear Daniel? It's like the beam of a lighthouse, as in the great expanse of the steppe. What? It's like the beam of a lighthouse. Hasn't the great expanse of the steppe ever reminded you of the sea? The arbiters of fate in this town are guiding a marble ship through the endless waves, kept afloat on the water purely by the power of their minds. The same way sailors navigate using star charts. In the still water, I feel like I'm aboard such a ship. I can see which way the helmsmen are heading. But what's beyond the horizon is hidden from my eyes. Oh, dear Daniel, I wish I were a figurehead instead of a passenger. Tell me, would I make a beautiful statue? Encouraged, Eva appeared to be lost either in the vastness of her imagination or in the heat of an illness. To be honest, I don't entirely understand what you're talking about. You're shaking all over. Come with me to my house. I'll examine you. He really did just decide to move in here, huh? Oh, dear Daniel, no. Please. May we go to the Cape together? I'll explain everything there. This is important to me. I'm sorry, Eva. I would like to know what you're interested in and what this scene is about. But also, I have no interest in the Eva route. You have a fever. You need rest and medicine. Come on, I'll give you something. I don't need any, my dear Daniel. I just wanted to see how you were doing. Like I said, the building's passable. It'll do for a few nights. And it won't be for long. That's right, the train comes so soon. How fast time flies. Yesterday it was like autumn had just begun. That just reminded me, when we play Pathologic Classic Bachelor route, we're in for a good time. There's a mod that I believe released very recently that turns the town into snow, and we're gonna be playing with that. The whole town is snowed upon. It's winter in the town on Gorkin. It's gonna be quite the sight. Anyway. And now it already seems like it's rolling toward the end, like the sun on the horizon, even if September isn't close to being over. Eva closed her eyes and slowly, as though reading a script behind her darkened lids, spoke syllable by syllable. How sad are autumn's somber days. How cold they come to us, and soundless. She stopped. No, I don't remember what comes next. Will you truly leave the town with so light a heart, dear Daniil? Even the brave Orpheus turned for his Eurydice. I've had enough of myths. Nobody speaks of anything else here. I'm tired of fairy tales. The kin, the town, they're all myths. Barach laments that they can't be sewn together, but they're cut from the same cloth. Both believe in absolute nonsense. You should... nonsense. You should get this out of your head. But legends are so beautiful. Besides, this one isn't from here. Daniil drew in a deep breath, suppressing a surge of irritation. This town is driving me insane. Daniil massaged the bridge of his nose. You'd better go back to the Stillwater and get some rest. You're not feeling well, and to be honest, neither am I. I did like a complete 180 based on my talk with Maria, but I don't want to go down the Eva route. We should keep to our own affairs. Eva pressed his hands to her breast. I think I'll visit Yulia. She said it as though she still held the faintest hope that he would seek her out. Or stop her, offering his own company instead of Lirichiva's. That would be for the best. Farewell, dear Daniil. She disappeared like a midday shadow, finally leaving Daniil to himself. Talking to Eva just makes my head heavier. It's if I haven't inhaled enough twire already. How terribly tired I've grown of other people's problems and mystical illusions. I'm sorry, Eva, but I don't know, I sent you to Lirichiva. Yulia will like that, maybe? Your reroute, let's go. Yeah, I just set them up by dismissing her. Now I have to choke on the intoxicating fumes of her words. That's enough. If you can't rest, then get to work. Andre had promised to think about alternatives to the building on the Sunset Street. Not looking forward to talking to them again, honestly. It's already evening. I'll go to him myself. I bet the two of them haven't moved an inch from their usual spot at the bar, still deep in their cups. However, when Daniil entered the bar, he was greeted with an unusual emptiness. Just a couple of patrons and the ever-present bartender behind the counter. Andre, who was usually in the main room, was absent. Good evening. Has the owner taken... Oh, that's me. Good evening. Has the owner taken the day off? Long time no see, bachelor sir. He was here until late last night, with his brother as usual. I haven't seen either one since then. And you aren't worried? Don't you think something could have happened? I'm sure it's alright, hardly an uncommon occurrence. My job is to keep your glass full. Would you like a drink? Daniil shook his head. Where could they have gone? There aren't many places in town where the Stomatons are welcome. Well then, I'll check Peter's. Thanks anyway. The door to Peter's house was one of the few doors in town that was always unlocked. Not out of fearlessness, Peter was just never expecting anyone. Over the last couple of weeks, Daniil had probably visited him more often than anyone else in the last couple of years. Stepping into the loft, Daniil was greeted with stagnant air, dust, and sobs, audible even from the stairs. Daniil tensed. What's going on here? Peter? Andre? He received no answer, save for a crash and a sudden heart-wrenching wail. Bewildered, Daniel took a decisive step into the room, but Andre blocked his way, deliberately obfuscating his view. It was clear from the dark circles under his eyes that he hadn't slept in over a day. Ah, Denkovsky, nice of you to come by, but how about we do this tomorrow? Tomorrow? Yes, we'll get it all sorted tomorrow, Danya. We're busy and we don't have time right now, alright? The depths of the loft, there came another noise, this time like tearing paper, followed by indistinct muttering. If you don't trust me, I'll leave. Again, also not interested in stomatons. I won't force you to accept my help. Exactly how it should be. See you tomorrow. His last words were interrupted by the sound of smashing glass. At this, Daniel couldn't stand idly by any longer. He tried to push past Andre, but the man wouldn't. I just said I would leave. Another mournful howl from inside. What? Is someone being killed back there? As a doctor, it's my duty to intervene. We're not killing anyone, besides ourselves. With Twirene. Fine, whatever. Come on in. Have a good look. The room was in complete disarray. Well, even more so than usual. Broken brushes and pencils, overturned easels, and scraps of crumpled paper littered the floor. At the center of the mess was Peter himself, a broken bottle at his feet. In one hand, he held a pile of papers, and in the other, a lit match. His eyes had taken on an unhealthy sheen. Petya, come on. Why these ones? They're your best work. Andre rushed to his brother, simultaneously blowing out the match and snatching away the papers, which Daniel realized were sketches. Familiar ones at that. Peter's attention abruptly shifted to the scattered items on the floor, clearing them away from himself. Why do I need all of this? These drawings, the paints, ugh. I don't need it. I don't need any of this. What's the point? What's the point? His already incoherent speech disintegrated into mumbling. He sank to the floor, drawing his knees up to his chest, and rotating one of the surviving brushes in his hands mournfully. The room grew quiet. Daniel and Andre breathed a sign of relief. Andre looked flustered, more than Daniel could ever remember him being. I didn't want you to see him like this. For goodness sake, Andre, it's Peter. I've seen him before. I won't be afraid. Not like this. Well, you know, I might have, though it seems driven by something different now. Isn't it obvious? We've tripped and fallen straight into this pit of memories, retreading the same old road. This is because of Farkad. You left yesterday, but Petya's drowning himself in memories until morning. Remembering him, Farkad, and the old days, how we lived in the capital, all the way back to our childhood. Utterly lost in the past. Lost in alcoholic vapors, more like. If you were at the bar until morning, I'm afraid to imagine how much he drank. I can't sit idly by. Daniel strode firmly over to Peter and shook him by the shoulder. In his weakened state, Peter allowed him to touch his forehead without obstacle, and grab one of his wrists. Helpless, curled up, and hiding from the world, Peter cried out softly and tried to weakly tug his hand away. Everything clearly points to a typical withdrawal syndrome. You are the syndrome. Did I say you could touch my brother? Andre, I took his pulse. So take it more carefully, got it? Behind Andre's facade of anger, Daniel saw an expression he recognized. Andre was worried about his brother. So much so that he was willing to break through any barrier, cut short anyone's life, all to protect Peter and ease his suffering. I'll be careful, as I would be with the most fragile patient. We need to lay Peter on his side and wrap him warmly. Placated and silent, Andre allowed Daniil to do what was necessary, standing vigilant watch. You've got it nicely handled. Just like a real doctor. Very funny, Andre. Come and help me. I'll give him a pill. Just like a real doctor. Together, they maneuvered Peter and wrapped him in a blanket offered by Andre, as if tucking him safely into a cocoon to protect himself from the world. For some time, they sat beside Peter without a word between them. One might assume Peter had dozed off, but his eyelids flickered open now and again, sweeping the loft and lingering on Daniil's face with a strange expression. He opened his mouth as though he wanted to speak, but he didn't. Andre, I wanted to ask. Why did you call it the broken heart? You don't look like someone whose heart is easy to break. Or someone who would harbor such feelings. You need to know everything, don't you? Next, should I tell you whether my brother and I wear the same underwear? No. Spare me the details. Still, did a girlfriend leave you? Were you that affected by it? Shouldn't you know me better than that by now, Denkovsky? Can you think of any woman who would leave me of her own free will? I may never have had the chance to meet her personally, but I may have heard about one of them. You and Nina Kaina were in a very close relationship, correct? Is this... Huh? Is this a real thing? How did... She died. Now she lives cold in the Cape, with only her stone ghost left for us. Everyone I love dies. Nina, Farkad, my tower. I fell in love with two people, and now they're gone, and I fell in love with her. And this is the result. Peter's outburst ended as abruptly as it had began as he fell back, exhausted, onto the sofa. Timeline is weird with them. The timeline's a little weird all over the place. It sticks to a solid thing for the most part, but then every now and then they throw in weird stuff. Where they like mix multiple timelines. Without meaning to, Daniil grimaced, which didn't escape Andre's notice. Don't worry, Denkovsky, you won't end up like them. You misunderstand. Why would I be afraid of... Wait, you mean to say that Peter... that he... All of a sudden, Peter covered Daniil's hand with his own, and met his gaze, unexpectedly lucid. I can't imagine Nina reciprocating feelings for one of the Stomatons. But yeah, the whole Honorotech's group was enamored by both Nina and Eva. Very differently, though. Thank you for coming here today, Daniil. And for your help. But tell me you're not just doing this out of your obligations as a doctor. No. No, of course not. I wouldn't abandon you two, even if I didn't know a damn thing about medicine. I would even have brought you a bottle of Twirine to cure your hangover. If that's what would make you feel better. Oh, now you're speaking our language. Can you manage him on your own? If you need me, you can find me on Sunset Street. Don't go! Wait, don't go. Daniil, stay a little longer. Stay. Peter trailed off, his fingers curled instinctively around Daniil's sleeve and pulled him closer. What was he going to say? Stay with us, or... Stay Farkad? A ridiculous thought. Smiling warmly, Daniil covered Peter's cool hand with his own. What seems to be the problem, gentlemen? I don't see anything wrong with what Peter has arranged here. Daniil paused for effect, and upon catching the twins' astonished expressions, he continued. After all the days I've spent in this strange town, originally alien to the three of us, I realized something important. Yes, staying true to one's beliefs and relying on established methods is important and usually leads to the best results. Hold on. Ugh, I had to sneeze. But sometimes we find ourselves in situations where the only option is to do something unexpected. Illogical. So I suggest we continue what was started. Say, Peter, can you stand on your feet yet? At these words, Daniil picked up a nearly empty bottle of who knew what, and with a good swing threw it against the far wall. Watching the cheerful scattering of glass fragments, Daniil was overcome with the feeling he hadn't experienced in a long while. A lightness. Delight. Freedom, even if only to throw things. Next to him, Andre huffed in approval, then picked up a painted canvas and broke it in half over his knee. He handed the halves to his brother, who was still staring up at Daniil in awe. He scrambled off the sofa, untangibly his limbs from the blanket, and with a crunch, he broke the canvas into smaller pieces. He tossed the debris like a fountain over his head. Take off your coat, Dunkovsky. It's going to get hot in here. What? This can't be what I think it is, right? If you aren't afraid, of course. Me? Afraid? Never. Are we lighting this thing on fire? What happened next was reminiscent of the first day of summer vacation for school children. The time when one could abandon notebooks, textbooks, pencils, and rulers when it felt like the days might stretch on forever, though summer only lasted a few months. Over in the blink of an eye. But right now, they could relive it. With the right force, they could break both pencils and their doubts. Laughing, flushed with exhilaration, they gathered up everything within reach and tossed the debris at one another with abandon. Then they swept the glass shards and other detritus into the corners and laid down, right on the floor. They groped for each other's hands and held on tightly. Moments like this were still possible, and on occasion they were exactly what was needed. Peter suddenly fidgeted, let go of Daniil's hand, and crawled like a bug to an overturned easel, and somehow erected it properly. Obviously, these broken brush fragments aren't ideal, but... Uncapping the paints that had rolled under the bed, Peter perched on a high stool and paused to peer at the stained canvas. He began to sketch. Something. Andre motioned Daniil away so as not to interfere with Peter's work. I didn't think that would work so well. You're talking to a fighter of death, Andre. Did you really think I couldn't cope with some sort of creative crisis? Although, certainly, I was hardly aware I had such a talent. Andre laughed and fixed his brother with a tender gaze. He's always been like that. He liked to draw weird houses. Or just a pattern, like, you know, like a direction. He wasn't praised for any of it, naturally, not by our parents or his teachers. He was the only one on his side from the very beginning, because I saw how much he liked what he was doing. It was like he became a different person when he immersed himself in his fantasies. Nothing has changed. Listen, Peter's humming something. Come to think of it, I can relate. I often forget about the world when I'm in the middle of my research. It's like nothing else matters. Well, there you have it. Your method of defeating death. She won't be able to reach you. And you, Andre, did you ever draw with your brother together? Like playing piano together with 4 hands? Me? No. In my youthful stupidity, I mostly thought about becoming a military man. Scrapping, so to speak, on a grander scale. I was a moron, wasn't I? I have nothing against the service, but I absolutely cannot imagine you in uniform. Although, now that I think about it, In any case, I abandoned the idea to decided to become a doctor. Well, you know this story. I thought digging through guts sounded pretty fun. Disappointingly, it's not fun at all. Yeah, I figured that out quick. I also figured out that my place is next to my brother, to follow him, support him, protect him. It turned out to be very inspiring. You might be right about that. It's hard for me to understand your approach, but it certainly bore fruit. Together, you've created the tower and many other projects within the town. It's remarkably impressive. Well, we wouldn't have been able to achieve these results without each other. Danya, are you aware of the term deconstruction? I've heard about it before. In philosophy, it implies the search for hidden meaning. For this, it's assumed that the object or idea must be destroyed or placed in a fundamentally new context. Exactly what you and your brothers have always done, right? Blood and guts aren't the only thing you understand, I see. As it stands, the principle has always aided us in our endeavors. But now it seems like it's time to deconstruct deconstruction itself, so that we can get to the very core of things. That's profound. Now that you mention it, I wonder if it's possible to deconstruct the situation in which we found ourselves when we got here. Though the disease has claimed many lives, we can look all of this from the other side. We can look at all of this from the other side. We meet again. Here, in this town, at the very moment disaster struck. It seems almost impossible. The probability was so slim, but it happened. It gave us the chance to reconnect, to become better acquainted, to get close. You're blushing. I'm doing no such thing. I thought I would have been able to end this whole interaction sooner, based off of my choices, but it just kind of kept going. You should learn to stop taking your fantasies for reality, Andre. Look, I'm here for you as a friend, and your brother is in a bad way. It would be far better for you to direct your attention toward a solution and not what's in your pants. I hope you heard me. Yeah, and here I was thinking. There have been occasions when my genius brother and I were wrong. Again. I heard you, Denkovsky. A good message for you to listen to yourself. Daniil didn't listen. He turned on his heels and exited the loft. The atmosphere in there was smothering. Who knew what might happen within those walls if the situation wasn't controlled? And he was not at all sure if he wanted any part of it. No. Andre, I'm very good at listening. To my own mind, at least. And what it's telling me is not to cross the line of friendly flirting. Perhaps my words were a bit harsh, but that's fine. The automatons aren't made of glass. They won't break. This way we will avoid misunderstandings in the future. I helped them, so they should be grateful to me, shouldn't they? The rest is unimportant. The sound of children's raised voices pulled Daniil out of his deep thoughts. Stop it! I'll tell Mom everything! Snitch! Daniil emerged from his own head and looked around in confusion. In a tiny sandbox, a boy and a girl glared at each other. Daniil approached them. And then the guns go boom! Bang! Fire on the target with all weapons! No, don't! The girl shielded an oddly shaped glass bottle sticking out of the sand with her hands. It's only now that Daniil noticed the unnerving resemblance. There was the abattoir. Here was the theater, decorated with colored stones. And this must be... Don't touch it! If you break it, I won't play with you. If you don't follow orders, the soldiers are going to be court-martialed. What's a court-martial? Like standing in a corner, but for adults. It seems like the quarrel wouldn't end just yet. The boy swung his hand above the toy polyhedron, preparing to bereave the pretended town of its foremost miracle and chance at immortality. Is this just kids playing Pathologic 3? I mean, Pathologic in general, as kids often do? Or is this actually Measley and Thrush literally playing Pathologic? I'm gonna stop him. Daniel stopped the boy's hand, poised to strike. Don't touch it. Let it stand. Here, if nowhere else. Oh, that's it? The day was nearing its end by the time Daniel finally reached the hindquarters. The weather was relentlessly worsening in that autumnal day. A strong, icy wind raged in the streets, whipping up the dust and leaves scattered on the pavement into tiny whirlwinds. Daniel turned up his collar as high as he could and impatiently knocked on the door. His fingers were already stiff. The door opened almost instantly, revealing Sticky, who almost flew through the doorway before stopping short in surprise. Oh. Oh, what? Sticky sniffled, then bundled his overshirt tighter around himself. His gaze dropped to the ground. It's just that Uncle Barah didn't manage to make it home before you came, even though he promised. He promised me too. Typical. Where did he say he was going? To the shelter, to see Lara Ravel, I'm pretty sure. Understood. That's something. Okay, go back into the house and stay warm. I'll go look for him. Oh, he was expecting Artemy then. Sticky sniffled again, nodded tersely, and started pulling the door closed. A gust of wind slammed it shut with an unexpected bang. Daniel took a steadying breath and readjusted his cravat. To Ravel's it is. By the time Daniel arrived at the shelter, the evening had painted the streets in deceptively warm tones. The sun shone in his eyes, but to avert his gaze in the other direction, where the prism of the polyhedron once stood on the horizon, was still too difficult. Daniel confidently raised his hand to knock, but hesitated. Only a week ago he had been standing here in much the same way, with his fist raised to the door, except then he had been gripping a revolver. With his free hand on the handle, he strained to listen through the moans of the abandoned patients on the street to count the steps of the courier, waiting for the right moment. Right, okay. 1, 2, 3, 4... Stop, a turn. 1, 2, 3. The footsteps slowly receded. 4, 5, 6. Now! Daniel met Artemy's astonished gaze. Daniel blinked. His hand relaxed and fell to his side, lightly, without the weight of a revolver. It was clear outside, without a trace of sickness in the air. The epidemic was over. It had been over a week now. Ah, I'm sorry, I was thinking. Ahem. I seem to remember you promising to be home, no exceptions, yesterday. That task turned out to be more difficult than expected. And it's... Artemy's frown deepened and he fell silent, fixing a worried state in the direction of Lara's study. And it's what? And it's going to be difficult tomorrow too, it looks like. Stach is always difficult. Well, let's solve these problems in order. We'll deal with supplies and equipment first. Shall we discuss it on the way then? We've been standing around too long. I guess so. Artemy continued as they headed out. Long story short, I was hoping that Lara or Grief might have some resources for us, but alas. We'll have to go to the children. They probably know something. I assume that whatever was going on in that scene we would see in a Respect's route? Something with Stoch and Lara there? Ruben? I don't think that's getting expanded upon currently. Khan sticky to Notkin? To Notkin? Exactly. He accepted Grief's warehouse inheritance once he retired from the business, after all. If he can help us find even a fraction of the medicine we want, it'll already be worth it. If there's anything left after the epidemic. That's what I mean. We'll probably have to mainly use tinctures to treat patients, but an attempt can't hurt. Okay, we're here. After wandering between endless identical warehouse buildings, Artemis stopped under a lantern hanging over a door and pulled on the handles. Daniil instinctively stepped back. Daniil? What is this about? This is just Notkin's warehouse, right? Why would I rather... I might reload this one. I just want to see what Daniil's gonna say, because I don't see why I wouldn't go in. I don't get along with the kids anyway. Well, as you like, I'll be quick. So that's... okay. Never mind, let's go in. Daniil could only enter Notkin's territory with gritted teeth. If only the children had called him Chieftain just because they found the word novel and pleasant to the ears. But no, the brats had put proper meaning into it. A bandit tribe. Notkin had taken over the warehouse business from Grief as an inheritance. But was the boy really Grief's heir? It was equally likely for him to just have taken advantage of the situation to claim new territory for himself. Oh right, Pathologic 2 Daniil refused to treat their dogs. I guess that's what this is about. Without his polyhedron, Khan was left empty-handed, and so his friend's star had risen, the now self-elected king of the local underworld. A kid like him would have a knife at your throat before Jester could meow. He couldn't stand on ceremony. He had gained experience, both of his own and by learning from others' mistakes. If only Barah would keep an eye on him. It might keep the kid in check. He seemed to be an authority figure for the children. The warehouse door let out a discordant creak. They could at least bother to oil it, and let the intruders into the kingdom of children and animals. At the entrance, two shaggy dogs wagged their tails at the sight of Artemis. Oh my god, real animals? But the mutts squinted warily at Daniil, just like their owners. They must remember how he had refused to help them. Here we go, okay. How could he have explained that a doctor had more important things to do during an outbreak than messing with animals, even if they were their friends? If they intended to forgive him, it wouldn't be anytime soon. Most importantly, though, they wouldn't forgive him for the fate of Patches on account of his indifference. Was it a good idea for him to come in with Artemis? Should he have waited outside? Right, he also said that, like, Patches was a lost cause and didn't even try with Patches. Ugh. But since they were already here, they'll have to deal with it. Both parties. You know, what I've been enjoying the most about this, the dating sim, is the fact that they continue the story. The dating elements interest me the least. I think it's very intriguing how they choose to, do a prologue, really. I'm very invested in that part of this entire thing.
That being said,
Whoops.
as long as he
Didn't mean to hit
self-voicing
that.
disabled.
Didn't even know that was a thing. That being said, as long as he was alongside Barah, the crowd gave way. In the very middle of the warehouse, where Notkin used to hand out his orders at a makeshift table made of 3 pieces of wood, a real table had now been placed. It had been dragged in from the supplies that had been seized. How could it be otherwise? The chieftain needed to look respectable. There were boxes. There were boxed stacked. They were boxed stacked around the table, where the freckled boys were busily digging through. Yeah, plus 5 days to the game, really. Notkin himself was seated at his new throne, buried in papers like a real businessman. Have we seen Notkin yet? I don't think we have. Again, I'm surprised by how many people are actually in the game. Hold on guys, I'm gonna be right back. This is a good time to grab a drink. Use the bathroom, grab a snack, do whatever it is you gotta do, but I will be right back. Alright, hello. Let's finish this. I thought it was an epilogue? It kind of is. But it's 5 days. It's 5 days of an epilogue, kind of. Hold on, I'm not comfortable yet. Okay. Well, look at you, pal. Bah, so he comes to us after all. You would have appeared sooner or later. You've taken Isidore's place, and he used to come to us almost every day. Quintalog, then? That works. I've been hanging around here for almost 2 weeks, and somehow I'm still filling Isidore's place. Don't I deserve some recognition in my own right? You have. You're right. You always helped us. You pulled our gang out of trouble, even if you had to drag us out of danger by force sometimes. Some of our ears are still ringing. But that's nothing. That'll pass. Some ears are better than being dead. What is that in reference to? The warehouse chieftain turned his gaze to Daniil. Me never remembering anything that happens in any of the games? What is that about? Is that real? Who is that? And here they say that you already left. Someone must be lying. I'll deal with them. Daniil couldn't resist snapping back. Your tongue is as barbed as ever. Just the way I like it. What are you here for? Notkin narrowing his eyes at Artemy. It was as though he was waiting for some kind of reaction or opinion. But Barah just crossed his arms over his chest. We have some business for you. With you. What a surprise. Everyone comes to me with their business. I mean, they did before, but even more so recently. You take too much on yourself. What is this? This is the Pathologic Dating Simulator. We're knee-deep in dating people. Knee-deep in some hoopla. He who takes a lot has a lot. And as for managing, I'll manage. Are you going to take something? Is that what you're here for? Exactly that. We need medicine. Notkin's eyes glittered with mischief. Who said I had any? You were boasting about how much you have. Fine, let's say I do. What's in it for me? What can I offer you? Notkin feigned thoughtfulness, but his cunning stare plainly revealed the fact that he had already decided everything a while ago. He drew out the silence for dramatic effect. First of all, there will be no funny business. You fooled the Khan, and it cost you a lot. I hope you've learned your lesson. Who are you going to lecture me? How about I teach you a lesson myself? Do you need pills or not? We have a way to get them, but I'll only exchange them for one thing. Bullets. Oh god. At the mention of bullets, Artemy went to intervene, but Daniil stopped him with a hand. He gave the boy a piercing stare and spoke sternly. What do you need ammo for? For a soul and a half business. Are you a soul and a half? You weren't, last I checked. I'm serious. It's not like ammo grows on trees. It's a valuable resource. So are your vitamins and antibiotics. No bullets, no pills. My final offer. What if I had become a soul and a half? Would you give them to me for free then? The silence in the warehouse was deafening. Even the ambient birds had quit their chirping. It was astounding that this place could be so silent. You? A soul and a half? You're going to say that I'm too old, and that's just an excuse. You're afraid that I really will join the soul and a halves. Can I? Is that possible? Not much of a threat. Even people recoil from you, let alone animals. What if it works? Even if it works, I won't give you anything for free. Like you said, medicine is valuable. What would you want in return? We'll decide then. I'll think of a... what's it called? An equivalent exchange. Where did he pick up phrases like that? We need medicine urgently. State your terms. Notkin thought for a moment, then waved his hand. Okay, so be it. Take advantage of my kindness. We'll bring the medicine this evening. If, by the end of the week, the bachelor brings us an animal that will remain at his side voluntarily, I'll let you have it as a gift. So be it. If he doesn't, you'll have to bring the bullets. Do we have a deal? It's a deal. I want a guarantee. After all, what's stopping you from hopping a train and vanishing into the night? Who will pay the debt? He stared at Artemy, waiting for an answer from him. Artemy nodded. I'll pay the debt. Notkin rubbed his palms together, satisfied. And we agree. Now just wait, and we'll bring the medicine. Is this really a side quest I'm picking up? I need an animal friend? Daniel let out the breath he had been holding once they were outside the warehouse. He was surprised. This fucking song. He was surprised to see Artemy laughing. You were awfully clever with him. Daniel mimicked his tone of voice. You are awfully clever with him. What am I supposed to look for? Where am I supposed to look for this damn beast? I can't give those scoundrels any ammunition. Go and catch a jerboa. There's plenty of them in the steppe. Daniel prepared to argue, but smirked instead. What matters is that we struck an agreement. That little brat and his conditions. I'll give him another talking to, rest assured. I'll give him hell. Sounds unlikely. Would Barach really lay a finger on the boy? We need a bull so much. Though Notkin should be taught a lesson. To leave his life of crime behind before it's too late. But somehow, his soul felt lighter. Time to go? Where to? To catch a jerboa. But really, let's go to my lair. He really calls it his lair, huh? Oh my god, that's just so funny. Artemy confidently walked toward the railroad tracks. I mean, he could call it his workshop, not his lair. Daniel hastened after him. We figured out the medicine question. All we have to do is wait. The problem now is the equipment. I thought about that too. I asked Eva for help. She'll ask her neighbors. Thank you. In any case, at first we'll have to make do. That's for sure. Yeah, I had a plan to drag all of my hardware to the hospital, but it's probably better to not take any chances. We'll work it out later. Come on in. Artemy halted in front of the iron door of an isolated factory building, and, with effort, pried it open and beckoned Daniel inside. Oh my god. I really missed the lair. We didn't get to go in here in Pathologic 3. Daniel had passed by the building before, but he had never been inside. The lair turned out to be dusty and cluttered, but habitable and cozy in its own way. The smell of damp and iron mixed strangely with the aroma of herbs and tinctures. Machines gurgled softly in a corner, likely the ones that Barach was afraid of dragging to the hospital. Artemy approached one of them, examining it closely. I would have loved to see how Pathologic 3 would do its take on Artemy's lair. Why are you grumbling? You're not even on, and I got the tincture out of you this morning. Ahem. So that's it, huh? The equipment here has a life of its own. As you can see, I'd rather not risk moving it. I wish we could still check out the babies in the drawer. They must have missed us. That drawer is always full of damn babies, wasn't it? No, that also reminds me, Pathologic 3 never had any kind of saving a baby kind of related quest line, which I really thought they would. I thought it would. I understand and support your decision, but there's this. Artemy gestured towards some boxes piled on a nearby table. What's in there? Your vaunted tinctures? That's right. No, it's actually containing the babies, Daniel. I hope it'll do for a start. How exactly do they work? These, for example, improve immunity. They're fairly simple. A couple steps of twire, swevery, and clean water. And those over there, Army pointed at boxes further away. Those are the babies. They're left over from the plague. They relieve pain and fever, but it's best to use those sparingly. Well, it would just be repeat to do the baby quest again. Yeah, but there's different ways to handle it. I mean, all I was thinking was that, I don't know, maybe you find, I can't say Anna again because then that would be repeating the baby quest. I don't know. Daniel raised an eyebrow. Artemy, noticing his expression, smiled wearily. Now that I think about it, I mean, Pathologic 3 did the water barrel quest all over again. I mean, that's basically identical to Pathologic 2. But I'm trying to think of other times where they did just do the same thing, but in Daniel's version. I feel like Pathologic 3 probably did a good job of actually avoiding that kind of stuff. With retreading old ground. I mean, there's plenty of hints, but it's never as direct. Probably the water barrel quest is the best example of that. If anyone's getting the baby quest again, it's Clara. Yeah. It was a child quest, though, with Artemy being the one kidnapping them. Yeah, technically. I wouldn't want to have to harvest people's organs for them again, you know? I guess I don't want to know. Let's at least move these tinctures. The two of us at once should manage them fine. Daniel raised an eyebrow again, skeptically, but he approached the boxes, calculating. Don't tell me we need to lug all of these in one go. What, has the contest to see who can carry the heaviest boxes been cancelled? Don't scowl like that, Oinon. It's a joke. To start, let's take one box at a time. He cheerfully hefted one of the heavier boxes. After a brief internal struggle, Daniel humbly picked up another one. If anyone else had asked, he would have refused without hesitation. A third pair of hands would certainly have been nice. Chin up, Oinon. Consider it a workout. Their work progressed. The packing and transferring of tinctures took a decent amount of time. By the time Daniel placed the last box on the floor of the makeshift hospital, it was already dark outside. His calloused hands ached from the physical labor, but the sight of neat rows of slender, sparkling bottles after hours of work was a special sort of satisfaction. Daniel tugged down his cravat slightly and, pulling the gloves from his hands, attempted to warm them. The evening air had become even chillier. The weather is really raging out there. And this house is so empty that it's hard to know where it's colder, in here or out there. Artemy lowered his box next to the others and opened it. There was a clinking noise as Artemy rooted through the box. Finally, with a triumphant smile, he pulled out his two marsh-colored bottles. I propose we warm up the old-fashioned way. We can pass the time before the kids stop by. I thought the only things we were carrying were your tinctures. Had you told me what else was in there, I would have agreed much more readily. They sat down at the table and Artemy uncorked one of the bottles. Though the room was still cold, the spice of twire did make him feel warmer. It went down more gently than the kind Andre served, and yet it was shockingly strong. Before Daniel knew it, they emptied the whole bottle. He swirled his half-empty glass lightly, feeling the room pulse to the beat of the twirine. Opposite him, Artemy watched his face with an unusually lazy smile. Good brew? Indeed. Warmed me up no better, or rather no worse than the stove. I haven't had this much twirine since Daniel cut himself off, but it was too late. A clammy, frigid hand gripped his insides. The whir of cannons and the ringing of a collapsing tower echoed in his mind. That evening, he had drunk so much that he could hardly recall his own name. Oh, the day the tower came down, he was in the bar. I mean, well, the day 12, he was in the bar. His fingers tightened involuntarily around the glass. Tell me, why did you do it? Oh my god, are we finally addressing this? Artemis sighed heavily, idly rotating his glass. The twirine sloshed inside with a heavy liquid noise. Do you really want to talk about this? Why the hell did you tear? I gotta. We're having a serious conversation here. Why the hell did you tear it down? Everything worked out in your favor, don't you think? Exactly how you wanted it, like clockwork. It's a pity that there are still those who are dissatisfied, I just had to go and ruin your happy ending somehow. Artemis' gaze became distant. I think that's enough alcohol for today. Daniel broke off and muttered incoherently. It's hard to get a doctor drunk, remember? Daniel stopped, biting his tongue. Now was probably not the time nor the place for this conversation. Sorry, that was too much on my part. I understand, but you have to understand me too. There was no other way out. Do you even know what would have happened otherwise? What would have happened if I had saved the polyhedron? There would have been plague. Forever. Except for the stepfolk, no one would have survived, Daniel. Not even you. Especially not you. You don't know that for certain. You won't believe it, but I do know. You're right, I don't believe it. Just don't tell me that you somehow found out through your step magic. Okay? I won't. Artemis. Forget it. Magic or not, you generally escape the situation without losses. You get out of the water unscathed. That's not true. My people are dying, Daniel, along with the miracles of this town. What I did only pushed them closer to death. It was prophesied that I'd spill rivers of blood. It would have been rude not to live up to those expectations. Artemis sighed. Even the herb brides have weakened. Do you remember, did the twirine ever hit you over the head like this in Andre's pub? There's only a week's difference between these batches. Daniel stared at his reflection in the edge of the glass. Refracted, fragmented, distorted, but his. There was another way. But it's too late to make that choice. They fell silent. Out of the heavy hanging quiet, there was an uncertain knock at the door. Artemis, reluctantly tearing his gaze away from Daniel, got up with a grunt and crossed the reception room to answer. An unintelligible, childish voice came from the doorway. Hey, are you on delivery duty? Yeah? Give it here. I'll deal with it. Tell Notkin thank you. The soul-and-a-half boy chirped something else, handed over a bag, then scurried into the darkness. Artemis was about to close the door when another voice rang out. A feminine one this time. Is this where they're going to set up the hospital? That's right. Has something happened? No, not at all, Sonny. I came to help you. Rumors are going around, but everyone is silent, afraid to get involved. The woman rustled around in her bag, retrieving a checkered bundle. Here, the atrium helped, and the marrow, and even the gut. Never mind their greed, they helped. We gathered some bandages and tourniquets for you. We hope it will come in handy. Yes. Thank you very much. Unexpected help is the most valuable kind. Thank you. The townswoman murmured her thanks and left them alone. After closing the door, Artemy returned to the table, looking at the checkered bundle in bewilderment. Okay, I think we're moving on from that scene, but again, this is what I love about the dating sim. When they actually, I don't know, when they do actual story, the story parts, I eat that shit up. I love it. Now this is something I didn't expect. Is this from Lara or what? More like Eva spreading the word. I asked her this morning. I mean, I know I shouldn't have taken that tone with Artemy if I want the Artemy ending, but I don't know, that's just so intriguing to go down that path. Artemy nodded. He opened the soul and a half bag first, followed by the bundle. Wow, this is a lot. It's astounding that there's so much left after the epidemic. We got lucky. Alright, we need to sort through this tomorrow, when we're sober. Daniil nodded and looked back at his glass. The silence that descended over them once more was suffocating, like a tightening noose. Yeah, having to live their lives after everything happened. Vera propped his chin up on his hand and stared thoughtfully out the window. You know, Daniil, I have a question for you too. Daniil raised his head and stumbled into Artemy's unexpectedly piercing gaze. If the tower was so dear to you, why didn't you kill me then, at Lara's, when I was there for Lilich's orders? I couldn't bring myself to. The words escaped his lips all on their own, like water seeping through a clenched fist. He had already destroyed everything possible during the plague, and he simply didn't have the right to destroy this, too. Daniil clutched at the glass, frantically grasping for some other topic to discuss. Something about their current situation, as long as it wasn't about the plague. At least something. So tell me about Lara. What was bothering you when we met at her place? Artemy stared at Daniil blankly for a second before he registered the question. Yeah, Lara's... It's mostly stupid. We should look for hospital workers tomorrow. Stock might leave with the army after all. Whatever the case, we need to look for someone else. If Stock leaves, you can't do it alone. Are you not staying? It's unlikely. Nothing awaits me here or the capital. Anyway, Daniil peered into his glass, absently watching the herbal residue swirl at the bottom. I wish I knew what to do. With the hospital, it's obvious. We need the building, beds, medication, staff. But it's just postponing the inevitable. Something to occupy my mind and hands. I might as well be plucking daisy petals, or whatever else you do to divine the future. That's an exaggeration, Oinen. You brew tea with daisies, not tell fortunes. Although... There's an idea? Give me your hand. Daniil extended his right hand to Artemy. Oh my god, another one of these. I just realized Lara despises Block while Stoch wants to leave with him. It'd be interesting if the dating sim is going to address that. I'm actually surprised that Pathologic 2 never really did it? Because that is a good point. And it's not like there's the possibility of the general... I don't know. Artemy's palms were surprisingly warm, almost burning on his cold skin. The calluses on his fingers grazed his skin while Artemy turned Daniil's palm around. Your hands are freezing again. Again? That's how it is sometimes. When he was nervous, for example. Of course, it could be from the chill. So what was your idea? It's a little silly, actually. The kin believe that everything in the world is made up of lines, led by them. The human body also has its own lines, which we Menku can see, and using them, we can discern the healthy from the sick. And of course, there are lines here. Artemi lightly tapped Daniel's open palm with a finger. I believe this is called palmistry. Is that what you capital doctors call it when you jack off? Seriously though, there might be similarities, but the lines are different. Artemi, it's just the epidermis and skin folds of the palm. What is there to see? Well, it won't hurt just to try, will it? Oh, fine. Artemi stared at his hand for a while, holding Daniel's fingers, sometimes bending them slightly at the joints. Carefully, almost tenderly, as though he was afraid of accidentally breaking them. At the very thought, a spark ran down Daniel's spine and he shivered. Artemi instantly looked up at him, worried. Is something wrong? No. It's just... without my gloves, it's strange. Well, I'm afraid I can't see the lines through gloves. Besides, your hands are beautiful. You shouldn't hide them. So, how are my lines? They're interesting. You're at a crossroads, and you're not used to expecting anything good from situations like this. It's the same now, but this blinds you, preventing you from seeing any other paths. Sometimes, to understand where to go next, you need to pause. Look back. Daniel's pale face stilled, emotionless. How can these vague words feel so personal? Artemi quieted, catching his reaction. We should probably go to bed. Hit the hay. There'll be a better moment for this conversation. Daniel nodded and got up from the table. The kitchen suddenly slanted sideways, only stopping when Daniel's shoulder bumped against something large and warm. I see your legs aren't working. They're working just fine. I just stood up abruptly. Daniel bustled to the door of his room, struggling with his unsteady legs and the amorphous, vague shape of the corridor. Artemi walked close by, awfully close, obviously prepared to catch him, should he trip. Daniel. Yes? Artemi's gaze lingered on Daniel's face for a heartbeat. Then he smiled lightly. Good night. Likewise. Fumbling for the handle, Daniel pushed open the door and began preparing for bed. As much as he could with a buzzing head and a moonlight instead of a lamp. We finally talked about the tower. For the first time since... It's good that we did. One less vital question that will go unanswered. It's become easier with Artemi. Enough with the omissions and silences. It might even be a pity to leave. I'm starting to get used to everything here. Day 3 has come to an end. You know, I thought that it would be a bad thing to address it so directly, thing with the tower, but it seems like that was good. That's fine. I was worried that me choosing the dialogue there as drunk Daniel to be so front about the tower would lock me out of the Artemi ending, but it seems like it was fine. It seems like it was fine. Anyway, now is a good time to save. That is day 4. Day 4 is getting a bit much there. Day 4, guys. From what I've heard, everyone's gonna get naked. Probably as soon as I click the next scene. Surely, right? And we're not ready for that. Not yet. Anyway, that's gonna be the end of today's stream episode. Really? Only toward the end of day 4, usually? Well, either way, I'd like to keep the... I don't want to play through most of day 4 and then end stream. Because next week... next week we'll be continuing this in the Discord. I'm considering how I want to do the stream. I might do an unlisted YouTube stream and just post a link in the Discord, so then you can access it through there. But I need to look into I need to look into whether or not Discord will I mean whether or not YouTube cares if an unlisted slash private stream is you know, it has stuff like nudity in it. I'll have to look into that. Otherwise, we will stream on the Discord. I'll make a new channel and everything. Not every route has not safe for work on day 4 even. But we're gonna be getting into it. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to look into it. I don't want to spoil anything for myself. So just from now on, we're gonna be continuing privately on the Discord. So make sure you're in the Discord, guys. And look out for the weekly company updates. I'll fill you guys in there. Anyway, this has been the longest day so far. Last stream I did 2 days. 2 days, right? I did 2 days. And how long? Was it 4 hours still? It felt like last stream went by way faster. And it felt like this one took way longer. Yeah, I did 2 days and 3 hours. So yeah, the days are definitely getting longer. Anyway, yeah. Never righto. Yeah, I guess that's it. Everyone, thank you for being here and hanging out. I hope you guys enjoyed the 2-part stream we did today. We did a kind of more than a full 4 hours technically, which is usually I don't do that so much anymore. But we got 2 streams later this week. We have the end of the Pathologic 3 playthrough, and we're playing the Void. Anyway, that's it for today, guys. Thank you all for being here and hanging out, talking and chat. But that is it. Goodbye.